Hey guys, how you doing? It's JGRC here. Today is a very special day for me here. I wanted to talk to you guys, as I said, about the Kyoshos 1 and the Kyosho 2, which is Kanai, Kyosho Kanai 1 and Kyosho Kanai 2. Now, I'm going to get into explaining the differences between the two. First of all, the kanai line was named, specifically after kanai, Yusho Kanai. These particular brands were the first ones to come out as, under his name for competition. Supposedly the MP 7.5, the 0.5 means the 5 consecutive years of the championship that was won with Team Kyosho. So just real quick on the MP 7.5 Kanai 1. This was the first car, like I said, in the Kyosho lineup to bear the name of the designer and the factory race driver, Yuichi Kanai. Kanai developed Kyosho from the turbo burns onward. He was competing, with the MP 7.5 at the time. It was named and used in the additions of the car that were released in the selections of the modifications he developed during the race seasons. One big thing to notice that it's a Kanai 1 is, let me show you here, get the body off. If you look in there, the quad disc brakes. You see? You got the disc brakes in here, 2 of them back here, and 2 of them up here. That's one good indicator to know that this is the Kanai 1 series. Now, I don't believe this is the original engine. I think they came with a GX21 and then they upgraded to a GX28 Kanai. This is an OS engine, RZ. You can see in there. But it does have the turbo going from the front to back. The airflow there. I guess another reason or another way that you could tell that it's the Kanai is because of the green that was under. Now this was recently, or this was, painted in the past for some reason, but these cars are my babies. Like, these are my top of the line competition, nitro cars here. I barely race these around. As you guys seen, you've seen the videos of me running this one. This is the Kanai 2 here. But you've seen me racing these, this one around. This was the one that I had on the quick runs and the tuning and everything else like that. And the reason why you can tell, that this is the Kanai 2 is because of the double disc brakes. So they went from quad to double. As you can see here, you only have, the one here and then the one back there. So you have front and rear, and then these are, quad, so 2 for front, 2 for rear, obviously. But yeah, these are, you know, beautiful machines. I'll be having more videos of this one running, you know, come springtime when we have better weather. I don't run these things at all in the cold. But yeah. Now, these are, you know, you can tell, you know, they're competition made. They were a RTR car, competition made. Now, I do not have the original remote, but I do run this remote. This is what I use here, which is the Dumbo RC. It's kind of a weird name, but these remotes and receivers have like the best range, and they're cheap. They're super cheap. You can get these for like 30 bucks. The receivers are like, you know, 10 bucks. But they'll go forever. They'll go all the way as far as you can see. You can't even see the car. It goes so far. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of, you know, show you the two different cars here, the Kanai 1 and the Kanai 2. Now, there's a very long story here with this Kanai 2. I purchased this a long time ago, and it originally came with, which you've seen in a previous video that I had recorded. It came with the Lamberto Calari. Get this out here for you. The Lamberto Calari engine. I believe it is a .30. But this was a beautiful engine. I mean, it just screamed. And I took it into, when I was inexperienced at the time, I took it into a local hobby shop that I have here in town, and I had them tune it up. Well, apparently something went wrong with the tune-up. I don't understand. I took it back to them to figure out what was going on. They would not work with me. They said that I modified it after I left the shops, but I did not. You know, I just thought it was their way of trying to get out of it. But I found out, you know, after the fact and everything, that this was a very expensive engine. Italian made by Lamberto Calari himself. And it was a high performance, you know, competition engine. I mean, you get this car going, you know, 60 miles an hour, you know. Very responsive, very quick, very expensive engine, and it blew up. I mean, it took off on me, and it blew up. Not sure what happened there, but like I said, they wouldn't work with me at the hobby shop. I was very disappointed in that, but I am currently trying to rebuild this engine. I have basically everything I need, but I am looking for a piston. I think I found a connecting rod, but I am looking for a piston because the piston just shattered in this thing when I went to go drive it. after being excited of it being all tuned in, and it was, you know, they called me up saying it was ready to go, and got home, fired it up, and it just took off. It hit a curb, flipped upside down, and it whistled really loud and popped. So, very disappointed in that. But, in any case, it made me learn all the mechanics of these vehicles. Now, I did go and purchase the .31, which is like a 5cc engine here. Okay, this is from Dynamite originally, and this is a 2-stroke. So you mix the gas, you know, regular gasoline, and this special oil that you got to use, which, let's see, I have here. So this is the oil that you have to use. Like, that's a crazy crazy number to come up with, but it works, and it works perfectly. I showed you a couple videos of a quick run, and that was with this engine. The engine when I was running in the parking lot was this engine, and that's when it was running, you know, really good, and I just figured I'd treat it right and go get it tuned in and see what happened. But I was in contact because this engine here, after I bought it, was discontinued. Like, right after I bought this thing, they discontinued the engine. And I mean, it came with a CDI box, everything, you know, and a spark plug on the inside, and I mean, it was just crazy. Like, you had this big old box on top of this thing here, and I mean, it was, I have pictures of it I could show you, but it was just bulky, everything. Like, I mean, it was just huge. This engine technically is too big for this car, but I have found ways to modify it, add spacers, you know, everything like that to the bottom of the engine there, but it all fit perfectly. I was amazed. I got me a larger gas tank for it, added a fuel filter. Now, these are the original servos that came on it, the Futabas, which is an excellent brand. That's very high quality professional brand there. You know, oil filled shocks, everything. I mean, it's got stabilizer bars front and back, and thanks to these folks at Special RC, you can find them on eBay and things like that, but Special RC, I was tired of the bump start. You know, that was the only downfall, was you always had to bump start this thing. And when you're tuning these things in, when you have a big bump start, you know, it tends to get pretty tedious. Here, I'll show you. You know, this is the bump start here. So, you know, this thing is just a couple batteries in there, big old rubber wheel. You know, you push this down with the car on top, you set the car on there, it turns the flywheel, you know, all that. So you have this whole big setup here, and when you want to start it, you got to push down on this thing. Hopefully it starts and you don't kill your batteries before you start the thing, because it takes a couple times. But you know, you'd have this whole thing, this whole setup that you had to carry. You know, once you start it and it's not really warmed up yet, you get about, you know, 100 feet away from the starter box, and it would stall out. So you'd have to run to it, grab it, bring it back to the starter box, bump start it again, take off, only for it to stall out again, run back, come to this. I mean, it was just a hassle. So what happened was SH Engines remanufactured this engine. So they bought all the rights, everything from Dynamite, all the specifications, everything to remake this engine. So if you need parts and you have a Dynamite engine like this, the .31, which they put in like the low C8s and things like that, you can get a hold of SH Engines, and they have every single part for this engine, which is awesome. And I was talking with the guy at Special RC, like I said, and he coached me through everything for this engine. You know, with the starter, you know, I mean, look at this. This is crazy to have an actual starter. I mean, this is about as close as you can get to a real engine that you can. And all it does here is, you know, I'd have my battery over here, I'd plug it in there, and then I would just, you know, turn on the switch there, and it's all connected into this starter button. I would press this button, and it would just crank the engine over. It starts right up, no problem. And I mean, it's so much easier. It brings back the nitro engine that just you seem to lose with this, because this gets old and you're like, I just don't want to keep running back and forth to this thing. So, you know, this right here is very innovative. This brings it back and says, I want to run nitro RCs again. I think, you know, every person that has a nitro engine should get the push button start. I'm recently trying to work out some kind of relay, you know, channel 4 or a channel 3, you know, setup here where I can remote start it, you know, from a distance. I don't have to run up and hit the push button, but I'm okay with the push button. I love the push button. I think this is great. You know, the thing runs, you know, stalls out. If it flips over or whatever may happen, you just run straight up to it, you hit that button again, it starts right up, and you're gone. You're off to the races again, which is awesome. Now, I call this my Frankenstein because of everything that I have on here that shouldn't be on this car. This car, I haven't clocked it in yet. I want to do a speed run on it. I finally got it tuned in to where it runs perfectly. If you watch my video Kyosho in the park, that is this car. That's this car tuned in, running good. I mean, it climbed. I took off all the way at the end of that video there. I kind of left the camera, but I took off. I went all the way up this real steep hill, probably about a good, you know, 50-foot high hill, and no problem. This thing had no problem. I think that this thing is going to roughly clock in at about 50 miles an hour, but I have to see. I'm kind of excited about that. Once the weather gets nice, that is going to be, you know, fun to figure out how fast I can get this thing going. Now to this is the newer. Now what I did was, after owning this, I bought this one. I searched and searched and searched for this. It's getting harder and harder to find these MP 7.5s anymore. But what I wanted to do was, I wanted to get as original as possible. I am going to get the GX28 engine, Kyosho, because they came with the car originally, so I want to get that. A lot of them actually came with the SH engines and things like that too. But yeah, I've seen this thing, and I got it for a very, very, very good deal. Now, the person that I bought this from, he stated that this was the Kanai 2. But obviously he was uninformed of the quad brake system that is in this to indicate that it is a Kanai 1. And for a long time I thought that this was the Kanai 1 and this was the Kanai 2, but after doing research, looked up on Wikipedia and everything else like that, it gives the whole history of these things, and I was completely backwards. So this one is the Kanai 1, this one is the Kanai 2. And you know, both of these cars are what, these started in 2000. So this was built in 2000. So, you know, 21 years old this car is, and it runs beautifully. You know, I mean, the body is just nice. You know, 21-year-old body still in perfect shape. You know, you don't find that anymore. I mean, you get these cars today, the body's broken, you know, in a week or two. You know, this one has had a little rough runabout. It's hard to get these bodies. I am in search for a new body right now for this. I customized it the best that I could to kind of clean it up or whatever, but it is, you know, it's been through the ringer. I mean, this thing is, you know, done. It's been chopped, chewed, abused, everything. But, you know, like I said, these are my babies. I love these cars. If you have any questions or anything on these cars, feel free to leave a comment. You know, please give me a thumbs up, and you know, let me know. I would like to complete the collection because they did make a Kanai 3. The Kanai 3 was more of, you know, you put whatever you want into it. They put it out there to where you make it your own. These were more of the touch of Yuichi Kanai by himself. He wanted to make these the way he wanted them, obviously. And then near the end of the MP 7.5 series, he made the 3, which was more of a, you know, just a customizable car for fun. It was still a fun competition racing car. The difference was is he milled it out. He milled out the chassis, you know, on it, which this is not milled out. But yeah, on the 3s he milled out the chassis and everything like that. He made them lighter. And I think with all of the brands, he actually used like titanium screws, you know, the aluminum alloy chassis and everything else like that. You know, they're just very, very high-end stuff. You know, he was trying to make them affordable, but back in 2000, you know, a $400 car was quite a bit of money. You can't even get these used barely for $400 anymore. Like, you know, I got a deal on this. This guy was he was just awesome with this. I won this in an auction, and I think I got it for like right around $250 to $300. And then on this one I got, you know, very, very cheap too, because I ended up getting this in on a trade. I was, you know, I had like a little Chinese four-wheeler. And I mean, the thing didn't run or nothing or anything else like that. And, you know, this guy gives me, you know, this thing, you know, TV, money, all kinds of stuff. Like, he just threw everything at me. He must have really, really wanted that, that four-wheeler. But, you know, hey, whatever. His loss, my gain. I had really no clue in this thing. I don't think he really did either when he was trading me it. But I'm glad it happened. I mean, I've been through, you know, hell with this car, actually. You know, I mean, this is my oldest car, it's my longest car that I've had, that I've learned everything on, all the mechanics, everything that you can possibly learn, I have learned with this car. I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything like that. I'm far from that. I mean, there's still a lot of things I don't know, but I know enough to, you know, get these things up and running and do what I got to do and go out and have fun and know the parts that I need once they go down. So, yeah. And, oh, another thing I wanted to kind of add was, you know, with this new SH engine conversion that they did, they took away the spark plug. So they took away the CDI box, they took away the spark plug. You do have a glow plug again. It's a very hot running glow plug. And they had to change the mount where the glow plug mounts onto. And it's a what it is a different spacer that's in there. It has a screen that's in it that creates the spark to the piston, and it's flawless. Like, I mean, it works beautifully. It sounds beautiful. It sounds a lot better than what it did when it had the CDI box, because that was just a constant battery. I mean, you were just draining your battery. After you start this thing now, you're not even really using the battery. The only thing you're using the battery for is your servos. That's it. Before, you'd be using your batteries for your servos, for your spark plug, you know, everything. You know, your gas, your brake, all that. I mean, it would just, everything was on that battery. And then once that battery would start to go down, it would send a weak signal to your spark plug. So then this thing would just putter and sput and whatever else it wanted to do. And then you're just like, what is wrong with my car? And that was the thing. I mean, it was just not a very good setup, which that's why I'm sure they were discontinued. They stopped doing them. But Japan took it over and they modified it to run better without all the Americanized junk. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So there you have it. Both of my kanais. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you got some kind of knowledge out of my rambling on. But like I said, leave some comments. If you can, ask me any question, and I'll try my best to answer it as always. You know, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.